Hello, welcome to the webinar. This is Steve Bizanov from CAPS Payroll and Media Services. And today we're going through Showbiz budgeting. Today we are focusing on commercials. Most of you probably know Showbiz budgeting can work um, in film and TV and all segments of the industry. Somebody is asking what template I'm using. I'm actually using the demo commercial budget, which is the standard template, and I'll show you that in a minute. But just a couple of housekeeping things, just so you know. You can key in questions throughout, and feel free to put in any questions, suggestions. We have a lot of attendees today, so I don't know if we'll get through all the questions online, but I have your contact info. So if we don't respond to your question, we will get back to you. We make sure of that, and hopefully we'll teach you something. So as we said, we're focusing on commercials, and the difference is really templates. So let's start with when you're beginning working with Showbiz budgeting, you're going to want to work in a specified template. Right now, I am in the AICP Classic folder, which is the standard AICP that's been around 20, maybe 30 years at this point. Then, just so you know, if I go to the Master Templates 9 folder, this is where all the other templates are for film and TV. A lot of people do commercials and other types of production, so it's good to be able to do both, and that's a beauty of Showbiz budgeting. You can work in any segment of the industry. So for anybody doing commercials, be aware we have also the ICB 2019 template. And just so you can see in here, if I open it up, the big difference is the layout and the categories. This was done after the AICP combined with the AICE, so they upgraded post. The standard AICP form, very old post categories. They updated a lot of the post categories and just updated the form. So I'll be honest, I still see mostly the old form still being used, but this form is in the program. It is a standard AICP form. Obviously, you're welcome to use any of them. I'm going to focus in the webinar on the standard form that everybody's used to. So I'm just going to go back to the AICP Classic folder, which is in the master templates. And here we have AICP Classic, which is what everybody's used to. And this is where we have a majority of the templates that are relevant in the Classic. Now, you will see there are two types of AICP layouts here, and this a lot of people don't realize this when they start with Showbiz, so I want to just make sure that's clear. So we have the AICP Classic Master. The difference is in the labor. So you can see on the grid here, we have 8, 10, 12, 14-hour days. And the beauty of this template is it automatically breaks your overtime for you, okay? So a lot of people have been used to 0.0 and hot budget where it's manual overtime. And I'm going to go back here and open up. Let's find manual OT master, ASB Classic manual OT. And the differences in the labor on A and B. You'll see, so this sort of matches up to hot budget and 0.0's layout, and it's the manual way of doing it. So again, either way works. I just like to point it out because people are being used to the old one, but if you take a look at this, most people find it to be more efficient because it breaks the overtime for you. Okay, so I'm going to work through the sample budget, which comes with any demo. If anybody has it, they have it. You do file open and you can open up the sample budget that I have, which is what I'm in right now. Now, a couple other things I just want to show in the templates for commercials is we recently added master templates with COVID sections. Now, as you probably know, the ICP doesn't have COVID sections in built into the standard, but clients were asking for it. So what we have done is we took just a common COVID section. If I click on that, and you'll see we added section R in here, and let's see where that's down here, COVID costs. So you have Q and R, and you have COVID labor and COVID expenses. So again, you're welcome to use it. We're just trying to give a resource for people that is handy. And you can customize the titles and the lines and do whatever you want with it. So just be aware it's there. And if you get have a version that does not have it, you can go into the help icon and you can go to resources on the left and budget templates. And this is our online listing and where you can download any of our templates. So if for some reason you have an older version and you don't have all the up-to-date templates, you can go down and up and just download any of the templates into your Showbiz. So that makes it easy for you, okay? And what else do we have in the templates in here that you might not know? Then we also just have in the ICP classic templates with Travel Master, so it has additional sections built in, and a 3-city template built in. So you can play around with any of those. And we also have a combo AICP, AICE form. So these are all commercial-oriented templates that we've built over the years. And if anybody has any needs on templates, you're welcome to reach out to us, but we find pretty much we have everything in there now over the years. So you can play with that. But as I said, I'm going to go into the standard AICP form. And somebody's asking, is there a 2019 iteration, a more updated version in the works? Honestly, I haven't heard of anything. You have to ask the AICP about that. As of now, this is the current version that they've put out. We'll see if they're going to do more to that. And somebody's asking, how do you import the templates into Showbiz software? If you're downloading a template from, let's say, our updated COVID template, you just download it to your hard drive, and then you can just put it into any folder for that matter. But if you want to put it into the templates folders on the Mac, it's under Applications and Showbiz Budgeting, and then there's a Master Templates folder, and you just save it there, and then it will be in your templates folder. Okay, so hopefully that that will give you what you need. All right. So I cannot open the MBT files, only the MBB files. MBT files are templates, so that you can you open that with file new. MBB files are the budget files, and you open that with file open. So that probably would resolve that problem. Okay. All right. So let's get moving on. So we're going to follow along the tabs up at the top, just as the flow of the program, and just to we'll go through as much as we can and answer as many questions. All right. So the first tab is your titles tab. Okay, that is the titles page, which is the top portion of your budget, and you can customize this to any way you want. We include the standard AICP layout. Everybody bastardizes it and changes it all the time. You can go ahead and change any of the titles. Okay. Now, what a lot of people also like to do is once they create their template, you can go and highlight this and go to the wrench and lock it, because you might be working with freelancers and you don't want them changing it. So this way, if I try to change it, it it's locked. Now, could they find the lock and unlock it? Sure, but usually once it's locked, they're not going to accidentally do it. There's no reason they're going to intentionally go and screw it up. You can add as many columns and as many lines here. So you'll notice there's columns for the titles and the information. And so if I want to go ahead and add, I can edit and add lines here, or rows, or columns, I should say. And you just can add 10 at a time. So you can do whatever you want in here, all right, and customize and save it. And what I would do is take the original template if you're starting from scratch, and you can just go File, Save as Template, and you can save a custom template for your company. So this way, obviously you want to speed up the process. You'll save the template with your company info in there and any of the titles, so you can quickly jump in and create a budget. Okay, now there's a tool here that a lot of people aren't even aware of, so I want to make sure you're aware. You can go File, New, and there is, I have a template built with this, so just to show it, you can create additional titles pages. Okay, so this is a standard ASCP form, and we actually have included in this template, and you have this in your, if you have a trial or full version, this template comes with the program. This includes talent specs and production specs built into this template. You can create any forms and include them in your template. These are just two things that the ACP actually put out a bunch of years ago, and we added it to the program, and it sort of died out, but we still have clients who use it. But you can add any custom templates that you want into the titles, so it's there. So, and people have forms and that they want to include, so it's a nice, it was a nice addition we had a bunch of years ago. So just want to make sure you're aware, because a lot of people say, oh, I didn't know that was there. Now somebody is asking, is this software compatible with Final Draft? Honestly, at this point, it is not. And we're talking commercial, so for commercials, it really wouldn't be that relevant. But just since you're asking, it really, it makes sense for it to go to Final Draft. Usually imports into scheduling. I'd be interested in hearing what you want to come in from the script, because usually it goes into scheduling and then we import the scheduling. Okay, so we'll talk further about that if you're interested. We are actually owned by the same company, so if there's a need for interfacing, we're always looking at requests. Okay. All right, so just to talk further about the titles page, also you'll notice here, I've added a date just for demo purposes. You have the ability to add macros here. I hit the control key and click, and you can insert macros. So the nice thing to add is if you want to add the current date, let's say you insert a macro, and then if you save it in the template, it will always add the current date for me. So you have all these different templates that are available. And again, this is something that's in the documentation, but a lot of people don't find it. So just, it's a nice option. So if you have a need for it, feel free. Okay. All right, so let's move on. Then we have comments. And in the comments, we can go ahead and put, like any kind of standard AICP at the bottom. We could add any type of comments, assumptions. Now, for example, like this is part of my template, a standard line I always want in my template. I have clients who have other document assumptions or notes they want always in the templates. So you can have corporate oriented saved in the template, or just job by job, so you can add them. And it's just a matter of adding text. Bold, underscore, italicized, and your color wheel. So like I have this in blue. A lot of people put red, make it stand out. So that's totally up to you. Okay, let's move on to the summary. And as I say, this is where the fun begins with Showbiz. So this is a standard AICP form that I have, and they most of the items you're doing in here, the system will keep track of the total. So you see up top any numbers, the system's automating that process. Now, a couple of things you should know. Now, you notice I have estimated and actual. Now, in commercials, most people will work with a working budget, okay? And so I actually have that created already, and that's what's called an additional phase. So I have estimated working actual, and I have a Canadian converted rate, okay? So you can go ahead and work with any phase. You actually can do up to 640 phases if you want to go nuts, okay? So here we have estimated and actual. Now I want to have a working showing, so I can just come in here and click working, and it will show up, okay? Or I might want to leave that view as is, and I'm going to add a new view. I'm going to call it working. So this way I have that phase already set, and so now that's in working. So I can go easily now between budget, which just estimated actual, and you might have different phases that you want to show. You can create phases for many different reasons. In commercials, a lot of people do estimated working and actual. You also can do multiple locations. So let's say I budgeted LA under estimated, and I wanted to add a phase for New York. Okay. So this is, let's say, a multi-location shoot. So I can do New York and LA, or any city for that matter, and leave it as an estimate. Now, you can do it in US dollars or any currency that you want. You can budget up to 10 or actualize up to 10 currencies at a time, okay? So I have this, let's say I'm all US right now. I'll leave it as US dollars estimate, and I'm going to want to display it in the current view, and I'm going to click OK. And now that's down at the bottom all the way to the right, as you see on the screen. I'm going to move it up so it's next to my other estimate. Okay, so there I have estimated and New York. And then what I would do, however many phases I add, because I could have more locations than two, I can now also add a total budget phase, so have it automatically added together. Okay, so they have US dollars estimate. Now this is, I'm not going to leave it as an estimate. I'm going to make it a sum of estimate, and then have it total up estimated, which I left as LA and New York. So now, and then display in current view, and now I'm going to click OK. All right, and then I'm just going to move that up so it's right next to the other two budget phases. So I have estimated and actual. So a lot of people do that for multi-unit shoots. If you're shooting internationally, you could have, let's say, London and New York, and I can convert it back to my client who's in the US and have it all consolidated, or I can leave it in their native currencies. And just so you know, under tools and currency, this is how you set it up. And I have it all showing in the US. If I was dealing with foreign, I can also display it in the native currency, so it shows up in its native in that phase. Now, also you can do let's say, what if scenarios, and it's not a multi-unit shoot, but I want to see what it would cost in New York and LA, and then decide, okay, I'm going to award because I'm going to go, let's say, to Miami, and then turn all the others off in the views. But a lot of people like to do that in one budget. Makes it real easy for comparison. And also you can do a turn on your variances to see. So let's say I'm going to do another view and call it variance, and I'm going to just leave New York and LA on there, and then when there's two phases, I can turn the variance on, and This way I can see where I'm going over and under. Okay, so these are blank, so there's no variance, but once you put a number in, it will start showing, well, I should say it's 100% variance. Okay, so you can play with that. Phases become very powerful, and for commercials, those are most of the needs, but people come up with different uses. Like, let's say you're doing a job that's video, maybe you have some still, maybe you have some web. So you can do different phases and just consolidate it. We're seeing a lot more of that. Okay. All right. So now a couple of things I want to show on the front page. So you have a production fee, and that's a percentage. Obviously, in commercials in the US, it's mostly percentage of A to K. So I can just, in the template, we have that pre-built, and you show the target percentage calculation, and then you can just check off on here the target percentage calculation. So that's A to K in this situation, and you can then just go ahead and click the button, and I have 20% on there. You could also put flat figures in and all that fun stuff. Now, what I'm using the production fee in is for obviously the markup, and that is what we call a contract fee. Okay. Now, a common question in for commercials is, how do I put my overages in? Okay. If it's a flat figure as an overage, it's pretty simple. All you need to do is highlight, let's say I want it below editorial, and then I can go ahead and edit and insert a contract fee here. Okay. And you can put a code number in there if you want. So let's say that's 15B or whatever. All right, and then I can go ahead and overage. All right, and then I don't need to worry about a percentage because that'll be a flat figure. And then I just click OK. And then I can just click the button and put in, let's say it's 10,000, just for a round figure. And I'm not going to put percentage because it's not a percentage. So whether I want it an estimated, actual, whatever. So anything you need to add, you could just add that. Okay. Now, if you need to break down your overages, you can also, let's say I have another line here, which is contract fee, but I might want to go ahead and add a category for overages. Instead of a contract fee, I might make it a category. Let's make it overage. So we call it overage 2 for differentiate it, and click add, leave it as overage, and then click OK. So then you can go ahead and there's overage 2. I created a category which has no numbers. I'm just going to add an account in here, and let's I'm just going to for speed make it 500 and overage 1 or whatever you want to call it. So that's another way to do overages. Okay. So hopefully that answers. A bunch of people were asking about overages. So now somebody's asking, Showbiz is making me group all the totals. However, I need in a hot budget format. How do I do that? Hopefully what I've said with the flat figure, that resolves the answer. If you have more questions on overages, please let me know, and you're welcome to email me on that as well. Okay, that's a common thing. All right. So somebody is asking, can you explain how the budget be read? Like, what does working mean? Now, working, so estimated is the budget or budget, whatever you want to call it. Working is usually it's a fluid number. Like budget gets locked, it's awarded at that. working is something people work with as they're going, where they might have to make changes. So in Showbiz, I want to also make sure you know if you have a working, let's go back here to my working, which now I have that on. Now, when you start, working is usually blank, but you want to copy over the estimated to working to make it easier, and so you don't have to key it. And a lot of people don't know this, so I want to make sure you know this. You can go to the phase menu, and oh, actually, you got to go to the budget category, and let's say this is let's go to a different category. So I've obviously copied that over because the numbers are the same, but what you can do is go phase, copy, and select source, and the source is estimated. You do it from anywhere, and you can copy the whole estimated over to working, and this way, and then you can go ahead and start massaging the numbers as needed, which is a very common thing. So you go and change your numbers, but at least you don't have to key it from scratch. Okay. All right. Can you give a different currency with each phase, like one column in USD and one in, yes, you can. Each phase, that's a good question. So right now I have estimated working. Actually, let's see if I have, let's go back to budgeting. And this has, yeah, let me go to summary, make it easier. So I have New York and so forth. Let's add London. Okay. And so we go ahead and add, well, actually, no, I'm sorry, go to phase, and then we go ahead and add, and this will be London. Okay. And now this can be in British pounds. Okay. And this would be estimated, and then I can display it in current view. So now I'll have London there. Now you see it's showing as dollars, and the reason is, go to foreign currency, I have everything selected to be converted to US dollars. I can have it in display in native currency, and now it's pounds. So I can go ahead and enter anything into London, I should say UK, but I have London, and you'll be entering in whatchamacallit, in pounds sterling, and let's say New York and LA is in dollars, and I can have that included in the total so it converts to US dollars. So obviously it depends on where your clients are, so you can convert it all back. Now also I have Canadian dollars set up in here, and that's a scenario where I am not going to be entering anything in Canadian dollars, but let's say my client's in Canada, so I can just have Canadian dollars be a sum of any of the sum of estimates and select what I wanted to select, and it will convert that automatically to Canadian dollars for me. So that's a handy trick when you're, let's say, doing something for a UK client, but everything's shot in the US or vice versa, and then just have the system automatically convert it for you. So, and I know I'm going through that pretty fast because there's a lot here, but anybody wants to go over that in more detail, please let me know. Okay. Let's see. All right, so that's all good. So let's keep going. So that's pretty much the summary and what you'd be doing here. Let's go to the budget tab. And the budget tab, right now I have a lot of phases open, so it's a little crowded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on estimated, which I was using as LA. I hit escape, so that's sort of a focus key, and you'll see that in view. And well, we call it isolate, I should say. And you'll notice I hit escape, and it did it. So all the most of the functions in the menu have quick keys you can utilize instead. Okay. All right. So I'm on the labor category to start, and I'm using the standard master for Showbiz. You can use, as I said, the other if you prefer. First thing I would recommend is setting up fringes. Okay, and basically you'll set up, if you're using obviously payroll, you're paying fringes. You can put in what you're paying. Obviously, I'm with Caps Payroll with commercials, and so if you don't know what your rates are, you can call and we will give you the full breakdown. In commercials, people usually do a lump sum percentage, where film and TV will break it down to the full component because they're worried about cutoffs. Their projects are longer. So, so let's open up non-union, and you create any of your fringes here, and you have N and then non-union and a percentage. We also have cutoffs if you're going to use it. As I said, if you lump summing it, it's really becomes irrelevant. On commercials, you don't really need to worry about it. Where on film and TV, on longer projects, you'll have the system observe the cutoffs if you want to be more accurate. Okay, and you have dollar per day and dollar per unit. Again, that's more for union-oriented projects, and you can put that in so the system can budget that way as well. So for your fringes, for payroll fringes, you can reach out to me. For caps, we can give you the fringes so you can budget properly. And also, if you need the union fringes, we actually have a commercial labor guide that we'd be glad to share with you so you have the accurate contracts. We are actually up to date on our union guide up to the IA update, which was recent. We're still waiting for the local 52 updates in New York. They have a new agreement coming, but it wasn't ratified yet, so we're waiting for that so we can get that in. Everybody's been asking. And now on the bottom portion here, this is where you set up your overtime rules. Let's say you're budgeting 1.5 after 8, double after, let's say 10, triple after 15, whatever. And you can modify that and have different rules depending on where you're shooting. So this way the system knows how to do the overtime for you automatically. And then I can set up a union code, which is obviously higher, which takes into account the union pension and welfare. And you can go ahead and budget that. So I'm going to go now and put in some fringes. So on the grid here, before this old one I have as union, I'm going to make it totally non-union and leave the producer as F, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And I put N in there. So now I didn't have any days selected here. If I do 2, it automatically puts in 2 12-hour days, I mean 2 14-hour days, which comes out to 12 hours of overtime based on what I've set up, okay? And you can set these up, you can do these as a whole. So, and this is another thing you could do if you want. And let's say I want this whole thing as 6, I can go, let's see, that should, oh, actually we're on, for global, let's say I want to add in 14 14-hour days. We have a global, and that's a global column, and what that's used for is to speed up and automate variables. So if, let's say I want in the labor, you see I put in P, or you put S in, and you see I put in all these hours, including the 4 that I put in. So globals are handy. Honestly, they're used a lot more in film and TV, but they are handy as well in commercials in many scenarios as well. Okay, so so that's how you do the labor. Now, in Showbiz, as compared to a lot of you might be used to Point Zero and Hot Budget, you might have some weird scenarios. And what Showbiz allows you to do in any category, if you haven't entered anything in to the account level, I can go into detail level in labor or any other type of account, and I can put in, let's say, John Smith, and I'm just going to put a PA, and then you can do your detail days, do 50 a day, whatever, and then budget it. And so that's one person, and then I could put another one in. So it allows you to do funky things by breaking it into detail in the labor. Labor is usually budget in the account level, but you can go ahead and play around with it in the detail. And the detail is used a lot more outside of labor because labor is really fast if you use the tools that come with the program. Okay. Somebody's asking, are you recording this? I have an employee that would love to look and listen later. Yeah, we will. If you're registered, you get an email with the recording. And if you don't, email me at the end and I can send you a link later in the day. Okay, and let's continue. So that's labor. And then we can go ahead and here we have A and B. Now, also be aware there's a nice function that's built in, a lot of people don't know about, is sync groups. You can sync A and B. So if you want, you can utilize it and turn it on. So if you change rates or fringes, it will, if let's say I did A, it would go to B and vice versa, or you can turn it off and leave it off and turn it on later, whatever. But it's a nice tool to play around with to speed you up. So let's go to non-crew. And these are obviously non-labor areas. And so you see here, I have $800 and estimated. So you can go into any account and just plug in numbers, okay? So I can then, but what a lot of people like to do, you don't want to have to memorize everything. And so what I can do is, instead of plugging in there, again, I'll plug in add and any information that I want. So now you could use the detail as many fields you want, or you just lump sum it if you want multiple subtotals and just put a total down here. Okay, so whatever works for you. Now I can also do, let's say this is Avis car rental, description. Now you notice I typed in A and Avis came up. There is a vendor database behind all of your budgets, and you can track information. I'll take a quick peek at that, but that will it's especially handy with the POs because it will pre-populate the addresses for your vendors. So that's a handy tool. So I have $1,000. Let's say that's Avis and the car rental, and let's say a director wants to use Hertz. So I can go ahead and do Hertz and director car, and then we can go ahead and put in, and this one I'll do detail, 2 days, whatever, 100, and so, and that just adds up. So everything will be add up. So anywhere you see an underscore, that means account detail has been used, and the rest there's no underscore, so that's at the account level. Okay, so so that's pretty much how you go through the rest of the budget, and you can change any titles. You could also, as we showed, add categories. So especially at the beginning, whatever, first thing to do when you start with the program, create your template. If you need to add categories or anything, this way you have things ready. And in the labor, you'll probably have rates that you know that usually you offer in your city. So I would save the rates in the template. That will speed you up. Okay, it's a lot faster that way. All right, so that's pretty much the budgeting side. I'm going to go into actualization, and a couple of things I want to show before. If you go in the file, and we mentioned the vendor database, that's under the file menu. Here's where I have all my vendors. System will create entries for any vendor that's entered in budget or actualization. So if I go to Avis, for example, You see I have the address in there already, and I can enter any of this information. Anywhere there's a pencil, those are custom fields. You can double click and change the title. But what I did, for example, crew, I have a check off, and then I can run reports for a crew listing or a talent listing or whatever. So you can customize those. You could save rates in these. So any type of information you want. You could also do attachments in your vendor list, and that allows you to attach W-9s or COIs to the vendors. So that's handy as well. And then you can export vendor databases. I might have a great vendor database. Why should you start from scratch? So you can attach that, okay? And then you can print reports here as well. All right, then let's go to import. Now you can import many different things here. Select the types. So for media services payroll, you can import, they generate a file. CAPS payroll generates a file. Our other two sister companies will soon have import capabilities, Teams Company and Casting Crew. And then you could also import, if somebody else has a budget, you can merge it with yours if they're using Showbiz. Movie Magic, if you're in film and TV, you can import budgets from version 7. You can import actuals. Parabid, you don't really see much of it anymore, but 0.0, people have actuals. You can import the sheets. There's Showbiz time cards you can import from, Showbiz scheduling, very little of these days. PEX is a P card. You can import expenses from there. And also if you use Cache, we don't have a menu option for that, but you could do that through the generic spreadsheet and that works. Also beware, there are two shareware modules that go with the program. If you have some freelancers who are doing PC logs for you, PL logs, they can download these shareware modules from our website at mediaservices.com or capspayroll.com, and you can download the free versions for them. This way you don't have to rekey them into your master. They can just be uploaded. Then you can import some detail reports from QuickBooks, American Express. Generic spreadsheet allows you to customize imports. So different types of, like Excel, you can save CSV and tab delimited files. And then we also import from Yamdu Scheduling, MediaWeb, Sargent Disk DPO, and Conduit. We're continuously adding. We find a lot of demand. A lot of people like to import into Showbiz. Okay. All right. So that's real quick. And let's go to actualization. All right. So we went through the budget tab. Now actualizing, you can, if you have a PO-based system, you go through POs. Most of your expenses will go through the PO log. Or you can bypass POs if you're not on POs and enter details in a detail browser. All right. So let's say you're starting with POs, and there's 3 ways to use a PO log. One is if you're on a manual paper system, you can just log your POs in here. Otherwise, you can print or PDF your POs. All right. So to start, you can attach a logo to your POs, and this way it shows up when you print, and you would set up and enter company info, header, footer, and column information. This way you can print your POs if appropriate. Then you can enter appropriate information here. Job, I'm going to say demo, and vendor. Let's put in Avis, and you see it populates my POs for me from the database. Okay, and you could use these other fields are not required, but most people like them. Then you can go ahead and actualize, and you can actualize against your budget. Everything will go automatically once you just key it. It happens. You don't have to ascend or anything like that. Let's say I want to well, first I have select my phase. I only have one actual phase in this, but if you have multiple locations for phases or even different currencies, you select the phase you want to actualize. Let's say I don't know the account. Let's say I'm going to say meals, okay? And I can then go just type meal, and it will bring up any account with meals in it, okay? Or you just type in the account number, and it will bring it right up. You can then put in your actuals. If it's a PO, still a projection, you can put that in, or if it's a, let's say, credit card, and then I can enter the credit card information, and this will actualize against the budget, enter detail or summary, and then you can go, and if you have attachments, you can attach receipts to your transactions. Subgroups are handy if you're doing tax incentives. You can track the information that way, okay? So you click OK, and then I have the one transaction, and you can put as many transactions as you want, okay? So you could break down any invoice that might need to go into multiple categories, and click OK, and there's my PO. If I went to that line, I would see it, and I could print or do whatever. So you'll go through and enter all your POs. I'm not going to bore you with entering a ton of them, but you'll enter as many POs as you need to, okay? I'm going to take some questions here. Can you export POs to hot budget? Honestly, I don't know. Most people, if you have this, there's really no need to export POs to hot budget, but I can't answer on that side. All right. When I import from Wrapbook, it spreads the fringes out randomly. Am I doing something wrong? I don't know how they export. I can look at the file for you, but as I said, with our systems, we automatically have options to export. But I'll be glad to talk to you about that. Can you export the PO? That's already been asked. How do you import petty cash envelopes? Okay, so that's the next thing. Why don't we talk about petty cash? Okay. Since you're talking about importing, you can manually enter your PC envelopes or import them from our Showbiz PC envelope. So all you need to do is get the file and import, and you'll find the option down here. Where is it? Showbiz PC envelope, and select the PC envelope, and I would put it into the actual, and then you just import and you select the file and it will bring it in. And then it populates the appropriate file with that. All right, so it's that easy. And that's why I recommend people, for the freelancers, use Showbiz PC envelope, because it's free for them and then it will work no problem, okay? Then we have, let's say you have to do manually envelopes. Now let's say I'm the PM, okay? We'll go ahead and enter SB, Steve. All right, and you could use any codes. I like initials, but whatever. Add a transfer. Let's say I'm taking 10,000 from the company. If I put in a PO number, be aware it generates the PO in the PO log for you automatically. People get confused. They'll enter a PO and put a PO number here. You don't need to enter the PO. System will do it for you automatically. All right, and then put a check number if appropriate. Amount 10,000. PC. Okay. And click OK. And now I have $10,000. And then probably what's going to happen is I'm going to transfer to one of my PAs some money, and I'm going to give them 1,000, let's say. And out to, and BC. That's the first other envelope there. So I'm going to send him 1,000. So now I'm down to 9,000. Now let's say I need to add expenses into my account. I have some receipts and so forth. I'm going to add some receipts. And I have working meals. I selected that before. So I'll do that. And Now, some people like to do the details of every receipt, which is fine, and other people like to just do a lump sum for a line number. Either way is fine. If you're doing a lump sum, just put in a line number and put in a total, or put in the detail info. Let's say McDonald's and 10 meals. I was going to say 500. And, oh, I said 10 times 500. That'd be expensive for McDonald's. Let's make it 50. And that's 500. And so my net is down to 85. And then I go through and enter all my receipts. But now I'm done. I have 8,500. I'll have to either transfer to somebody, or I'll go ahead and give it back to the company. So I said it's 8,500 PC and out to, not in, from the company. And that zeroes out my envelope. Okay. So that's how you do petty cash. And if you need more questions, you feel free to reach out about that. All right, just trying to get through some more questions. Mine doesn't give me a button option to add an attachment, only a checkbox that says attachment. The checkbox is just on the selection process. You got to hit that button. I'll reach out to you because that definitely should do it. To import payroll from Rapwork, your file format needs to be generic spreadsheet. That is correct. Okay, it's just so we'll go from there, and from there the fringes should calculate correctly. Oh, somebody's being helpful. Thank you. All right, I'm sure they appreciate that. All right, so let's go ahead and get through the last tabs. We're running out of time. It's a lot. I'll be honest, I'm going very fast. I can spend hours. Just try not to take up too much of your time. But you're welcome to reach out with more questions individually, and we'll get your questions answered. So as I said, you could enter detail here, which bypasses the PL log. This is a detail browser, which is a great option for, it's really like you can find anything here. So let's say, like a lot of people from Point Zero and Hot Budget say, how come there's no payroll log? There's really no need. You can create a quick log if you need to. And you click on time card. Now I have a payroll log. And I can print that out from here or just work with it. You can then sort by account number, by date, and modify any transaction that's here, whether I entered it or is imported from the payroll service. Okay. And there's find options here. So there's all sorts of things you can do with the filtering. And then you see down here, you can print reports. Okay. So that's the detail browser. Real simple, but very handy and powerful. Then you have a built-in calendar here. And the calendar is a simple calendar, nothing fancy, but you enter your information and the dates. Let's say this is a prep day, and you just go through dates and you can print it out. Okay. Real simple, and hopefully one of these days we'll get to enhance the calendar. People keep asking, but there's just so much that we're always adding. Now, last important area is your printing area. Printing, you can pretty much print anything from here. Most people never use all the reports. There's a lot of options. So let's say I'm going to select all, and I can preview any report. There's my budget. I can PDF anything by just going to print. That's for any report. And you'll see the PDF option right there. Okay, and then you can save your PDF and email it. You can, so all sorts of different options here. You can display detail in the budget layout if you wanted to. You could hide inactive accounts, inactive rates. You can watermark your budgets for all different versions. Okay. You can attach logos to your budget, and I would embed that and save the image with the budget. So save it with your template so it's always attached. Then you have all sorts of detail reports here, and you can sort, you can filter, and I won't bore you with all that here, but if anybody has questions with reporting, you're welcome to reach out. As I said, you can pretty much get anything you need. Also, what's handy, if I go to an actual, you'll see the different options. I can just select one of these to create a petty cash log, credit card log, or check log, whatever. And then we have other reports. We have custom specific purchase order logs, which you have a lot of options on, petty cash logs, check logs. So you can select those. And we have a course report layout, which is more film and TV oriented. But anybody obviously can use them. Okay. All right. And so that's printing. And then you have the calendar. So that's pretty much the quick tour of Showbiz. One of the things I will do, I want to give you my email and or phone. You can reach out with any questions, and there are some questions I haven't gotten to. So we're running out of time, and I will get to you on those as well. If you want to reach out, you can. Again, my name's Steve Bizenov, Bizenov. And I can be reached at steve@mediaservices.com or steve.bizenov@capspayroll.com. And you can reach out with any questions on the software or payroll, or if anybody's interested in getting a copy of the Showbiz Labor Guide, which is the commercial contracts, feel free to email me. I'll be glad to get you that as well. So we will be doing more of these webinars. If you do film and TV, we have some specifically focused on those areas. Hopefully we answered all your questions. I will leave the screen up so you have the ability to type in more questions, and I will get back to you with any questions that have not been answered. And thank you for coming, and we look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. Okay, bye-bye.